Right. We'll get this thing here rolling. I'm trying to get organized on my side. Cool. Yeah, I don't want to stare at myself. Uh, I just wanted to hit on more advanced nutritional strategies. I've had some conversations with you guys about this, and I'm just going to give you an overview of some of the strategies and why you would use some of the strategies. So, we're going to talk about fasting, carb cycling, strategic refeeds, because that's, in a cut phase, these are crucial components in staying within, macro counting and or um, in caloric restriction. So, I've done this before. I've done cuts in the past, and it's one of those things where really fine tuning the nutritional strategy and a higher level nutritional strategy to get your percentage of body fat lower and lower. So get your lean. So we always want to have the foundation first. Obviously, we work with you guys on that, and I need to fix this. This should actually be two, um, 1.5 to 2 grams, somewhere in there. One's probably too low for you guys. Anyway, adequate calorie support, obviously with for testosterone. So we set those things up for you. Now, if you have more stress and or increase the volume of workout, we just have to watch it and make sure that it doesn't take a toll and start causing some disruption within the testosterone, within your recovery, within your central nervous system. So we really have to be in tune with that. So again, we're going to push that protein up 1.5 to 2 grams per body weight, or we go after the ideal. You can go to 2 grams and then go after ideal body weight as well. You know, 3 structured meals minimum. Obviously, you guys could do snacking in between. With some of the women, we just do straight up three straight meals with minimal or no snacking. Now, if we get into a cut phase, we may go to that. We have to push the meals up a little bit heavier and take the snacking out. So obviously, we're taking care of the progressive overload and then working on their sleep, stress management. So those are the foundational components we need to master first, or close enough. So with your energy availability and hormones, so low energy intake raises cortisol. So it's a stressor on the body. So chronic deficiencies suppress LH signaling. So we're hopefully we're not in a chronic. Um, Obviously, some of you guys have done blood work, things of that nature, so we can address uh, any deficiencies. But if we're in a cut, yes, we're going to have some deficiencies pop up and or restrictions pop up. I mean, not restrictions, but you'll be in restrictions, which is a stressor. It can reduce, thyroid conversion, slow metabolism, but we typically don't keep you um, in that low phase very long. We have to cycle that. I know some people call it refeed. I don't necessarily like to call it that. Go back to normal baseline. So, because I think it's a misconception, and you think, oh, you got to eat more. Well, if you eat more, you're going to put, weight on, and typically it's going to be body fat if you're not, paying enough attention to it. So, the performance may drop before visible fat loss stalls. So, underfueling can backfire if you push it too long or too restrictive without some boundaries. And I'm going to talk about some of the boundaries here. So, strategic fasting overview. Short term, there's insulin reduction improves sensitivity. It will. And you guys can do a natural fast, and that's typically what a lot of you guys do. Not everyone, but that's easier to do, which I'll talk about in the next slide. Temporary growth hormone increase. Obviously, again, some of the foundational components have to be in place. Increased fat oxidation during glycogen depletion. So there are some strategies of working out in a fasting state. I've done it before, not fun, specifically if you start pulling your carbohydrates and it's brutal. It can be brutal. What I'm saying there is your performance really suffers. Your strength will drop significantly after the first set if you can make it to 2 sets. it's just interesting when you start really reducing that muscle glycogen and what happens to your performance and muscle contraction. So obviously we're trying to set a foundation of fat oxidation naturally. But if you have glycogen depletion, that's what it does. It kicks in. So it is a physiological stress. Again, it's a stress on the body. We want to program this around training as much as possible because again, it, when you're in a low cut or you're trying to get to low percentage of body fat, your performance will suffer, and you just have to chalk it up as that. You just have to really focus on your recovery and making sure you're getting enough of the protein and BCAA or eight essential amino acids in. Uh, so and try to hold on to as much lean tissue as possible, which you know in a low cut you may tap in a little bit, but we're trying to protect that. And that's that's your baseline or metabolic process. So here's some guidelines for the fasting component, 12 to 14 hours. It's a daily window. So mine on even my workout days, I don't eat until typically around 10. So think about that. I stop eating uh, typically before 8. So, I do it from a natural standpoint most days. I even try and on the weekends, I try to do the same thing, which I need to get back to it. I haven't been doing. I would typically get up, work for a couple hours, jump on the bike back here, Airdyne bike, and hammer out some high intensity interval training. Typically about 4 to 6 rounds of 30 15 30. I'd go as hard as I can, 15 rest. I would do that for 4 rounds rest. So just really trying to condition myself for high intensity uh, spurts that maybe I was not programming at the gym. But anyway, I need to get back to that. And then I'd hit the sauna and I'll get the cold plunge fixed, and then I would eat. So by then it was like 11 o'clock. So I try to do that on the weekends. Obviously, sometimes I have other obligations that won't allow me to do that. But anyway, 16-hour fast once a week. You can do a 24-hour fast as well once a week. I'm actually supposed to do that and I never have yet. So, uh, never, you want to try to avoid fasting with heavy leg day because it will kind of smoke you from um, not only a recovery, but just a workout. You'll putter out with that high intensity may, I used to suffer from more of hypoglycemia. So it's like it, I had to really watch my heavy leg days or high intensity days and if I was in a fasting state or not, because I'd go down. I've I think my insulin response has gotten better, so that didn't impact me as much. Or maybe I don't go as balls to the wall as I used to. I don't know. Probably both. Um, I still try to train hard, but man, at one time I trained really hard. It was just part of it. So maintain weekly protein targets, guys, and that's why we have why we need to track in the app and go after those marker points. Monitor sleep, mood, libido. Those are important. And then we look at carbohydrate. What does it do? Carbohydrates are going to drive performance. So it's going to be a fuel for high intensity lifting or intense lifting. So it's going to help with restoring muscle glycogen, so for muscle contraction, reduce post-training cortisol, so it helps pull that cortisol down, supports thyroid T3 production, improves sleep when consumed at night or can. So that's an individual basis. So if you've maybe been popping up and waking up in the middle of the night, you may try a little bit of carb right before you go to bed, and you got to monitor that. So you got to make sure you have all the other parameters in line and test it. Carb cycling framework, I've used this really well. It's a great tool. Higher carbs on heavy compound training days, and then moderate carbs on accessory days, which I don't program necessarily like that. So what we do is we do mid to high if you needed them on lift days. Non-lift days, we're going to go lower carbs. So it's pretty black and white. Days you lift, you go a little bit higher. Days you don't, you're pulling the carbs. Uh, Obviously, protein is constant daily. We stay the same. We hit that marker point. Adjust fat inversely to the carbs. So as you're pulling the carbs, you want to push your fats. That way you're not. significantly under calorie because then we'll get in a little bit of trouble if you compound that in multiple days. Oops, wrong screen. Uh, so training day example. So say he was a 200 pound male, which I think I'm running around right around there, 202 to 204 somewhere there. So 200 grams of protein, which I hit that marker point some. Sometimes I go over it, sometimes I'm under it. Uh, I really need to start being. I think I've been pretty low on my carbs, so I need to really start identifying that. Now I have the app and I have all this stuff, and I said I was going to do this, and I need to get hooked up to all uh, my Aura ring and everything. Interesting part is when I do that, when I log into the other side, I can't see anybody's communication or messages, so it's kind of a pain. I have to toggle or log out, log back in, log out, log back in. So it makes it kind of a pain. What I probably should do is, well, I don't have another iPad. I used to. I guess I could throw it on this uh, my computer here. I'll download the app here and then just do it off my computer. Try that and see how it works. We'll see. So then the example is carbohydrates 400 to 500, fat 60 to 80, fuel pre and post workout, calories at maintenance or slightly surplus. It depends on what phase you're in. If you're in a cut phase, we may be under calorie. Rest days, so 200 grams, again, protein same, carbohydrates uh, significantly lower, 100 to 200 grams. Fats are going to push up 80 to 100 grams. Now, I've pulled mine carbs back 75, under 75 to 25. That's pretty rough. You can do that, but man, you don't doing that for an extended period of time can start wearing on you. You get a little bit grumpy. So calories slightly deficient if cutting. So that's even on the lift days, you can play around with that. You just got to pay attention to recovery. Uh, prioritize real foods, uh, micronutrient dense. That way, it's going to be satisfying, and the nutrient component's going to help with the recovery as well. And then you go into strategic refeeds. You can do this used after multiple weeks. And if you're cycling up and down, up and down, up and down, and your load, you go 1 week, and then maybe the middle of the next week, maybe you go 7 to 8 days, then you do a reload day, a refeed day, and then you do another, or maybe you do a 2 day where it's your break even and one's a little bit higher, and then you cycle back low again for 5 to 7. You can do it that way. Uh, so used after multiple weeks in a deficit, increase carbohydrates primarily it's going to help us restore your muscle glycogen, support leptin signaling. So being satisfied, not hunger, not that hunger signal. Improve training output and drive. And then obviously this makes you more metabolically flexible. So it's going to help with efficient and fat oxidation, carbohydrate utilization, stable daily energy, reduce the crashes and cravings built through structured fueling. When you do that, you want to play around sometimes with your macros because you're testing your own energy systems. Well, I should say energy systems, but because of the energy system, it uses all the fuel. It just depends on what some of the macros are and how they're going to be utilized based upon what you're doing. Metabolic process and things of that nature. So we manipulate all the parts, and then with that is when you do these things, you're kind of testing the system, so that makes you more metabolically flexible. Here's some warning signs that may pop up if you're under fueling for extended period of time. The strength, regression in strength, poor sleep quality, so that's a central nervous system component, and you're overtraining, uh, reduced libido. You have uh, no drive there. Elevated resting heart rate, so that's what you want to watch with your Aura ring and or your Whoop or whatever's tracking your HRV. So that's a good indicator for that. Irritability and mood swings. I've done that in a cutting phase. It was pretty tough. So what we want to do is make sure we're precision over extremes. We use extreme precision, right? Performance over deprivation, and we'll push it through, and we can push it through those cycles, but it's not going to be extended period of time and too extreme. We always want to keep the muscle retention first. Creates your freedom and flexibility to do this for a lifetime, and it builds obviously the structure and body you desire and the look you want. So I just wanted to hit on some of these. These are a little bit higher level strategies I've been used with some of you guys, and then I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the science components behind it. So if this kind of strikes a chord and/or we want to dig into this more individually, we can chat about it on our calls, individual calls, or book a coaching call. We'll dive into it, guys. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and cut her down and kick them out to you guys. So continue to win the week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.